This is Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, and that they might be damned. That they might be saved. And for this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusions that they should believe a lie, and that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessing be multiplied on all you brethren, teaching his word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there, shalom. I'm the brother Damal Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right. And that man of sin, Esau, Edom, is revealed, man. As it says in the ninth verse, him whose coming is after the working of Satan, man. All right. Counterfeit powers and signs and miracles. And this man is revealed. This man is exposed. And this man is literally out here doing the complete work of Satan. All right. The complete adversary, the complete devil, and, like I said, this Friday on the last street preaching, this man is being revealed, man. He's being exposed because why? We're living in the time of this man's judgment, man. And the Lord is going to destroy this bastard from off the face of the earth. He's going to pull him up, pluck him up from his roots. He's going to sit down in the darkness, and this man will never, ever again be in control of the earth or in control of anything, man. All right. This man needs to be stopped. This man needs to be put in chains. He needs to be thrown in a pit, and he needs to be ultimately, taken off the face of the earth, man, because this man is completely diabolical. And I'm gonna play this video here from the Jimmy Dore. It says weather control and dimming the sun is real and poisoning humans. You see, and this is part of the secret council of the wicked, and this is what these elites are doing, man. And like I said, starting with the elders and the apostles, I remember when they first came on YouTube, there was going into chemtrails and the barium, putting all these different heavy metals and chemicals in the air, in the atmosphere. They're geoengineering, the Georgia Guidestones. They're literally poisoning all of us, man. And it's funny because this whole week and last week, I don't really have allergies like that, but whatever they're putting in the air is really affecting me, man. It's getting better, but I was congested. I couldn't breathe out of my nose. It's felt like, my nose has just been burning as if I've, how you go in the pool and you get water in your nose. My nose has just been burning and burning. And as I'm cleaning my nose, you just get this taste of metal, you know? And we see what's happening with all the snow. The snow is melting, and the snow is funny. It's not melting. People are doing all these tests and showing you on these different videos how the snow ain't right. How it's basically laced in chemicals and heavy metals, and is being used to ultimately poison us and dumb you down and to affect your brains, your cognitive abilities. And ultimately, we're all being fucking poisoned to death by the goddamn devil, man. And this is why we can't wait till Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai makes his second return and give these bastards their just desserts. So I'm going to play some of this video with Jimmy Dore. And I forgot this guy's name. Oh, Dan Wigington, man. And he's been going in on, the chemtrails and what these devils have been poisoning the air and all of us, man. This man is a complete and utter devil. And all of these so-called sea theories, they're not sea theories. They're sea facts, man. Everything that we've been speaking and exposing this devil about through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is 100% on point, is accurate, and it's the god dang truth, man. And if you can't see it, then you're just too stupid, man. All right. And and again, this nigga Nate talking about, oh, we don't hate the white people. We don't hate the Esau. Oh, God hates Esau. You're a faggot, man. And I'm not saying that because of your sexual orientation. I'm saying it in the terms because you're just a sellout and you're weak and you're just a piece of shit, man. All right, this man needs to be stopped. This man is being exposed, and he's not going to stop until Yahweh Shai cracks those clouds, and this man is literally thrown headlong into a damn pit and into slavery. So let's play some of this video. I got a couple precepts, and I'm going to get out of here.
We have special guests with us. I'm very excited about this. I predict that this segment will be what the kids call today a banger. It will be a banger of a segment. Dane Wigington is lead researcher and administrator for the website geoengineeringwatch.org. And he's the executive producer of the groundbreaking climate engineering documentary, The Dimming. It's got over 26 million views on YouTube. 26 million, that's a lot. That's a lot. It takes me a month and a half to get that. So he did it with one video. He has a background in solar energy and has devoted the last 20 years of his life to researching covert global climate engineering operations and the effort to expose and halt them. Please welcome to the show, Dane Wigington. Hi, Dane.
Pleasure to join you, Jimmy. And again, I'm very grateful for your willingness to address this most dire issue that now is becoming all but impossible to hide. And we see some truth of this bubbling out from sources all over the globe.
So what got my attention to your project was earlier last week, the UK had announced that they were going to spend £50 billion doing experiments to try to block out the sun for global warming, to fight climate change and global warming, which is kind of ironic, trying to block out the sun in the UK. That's just hilarious, right? It's like trying to block out the snow on the equator. There is no sun in the UK. But by the way, I'm pretty sure that's called you're supposed to have informed consent, because that's an experiment happening to the population, not only of the UK but probably of the world. Would you agree with that?
I do, and they know this, and the system has been set up to allow them to do this. So we have weather warfare of historical record, Jimmy, like Project Popeye in Vietnam in the 60s, for example, that was so effective at controlling the flow of precipitation and the weather in general that international community passed INMOD treaties in the 70s forbidding weather warfare, but not forbidding countries to engineer or experiment in the atmosphere over their own populations in their own countries. So, and nobody pays attention to those treaties anyway. And I'll leave it with this. At geoengineeringwatch.org, we have mountains of data, documents, presidential documents, Senate documents. One Senate document, 800 pages long, U.S. Senate, 1978, specifically outlines the global cooperation with these programs. All the important parts are highlighted on our file on that. Anybody can look at it on our site. And again, calling for international cooperation, even between, quote, otherwise adversarial nations. So we know from historical records, Soviet weather modification scientists were touring U.S. weather modification facilities during the height of the Cold War. Our scientists touring their facilities. It's all smoke and mirrors, Jimmy, the same as the £50 million new experiments. It's been going on for over 75 years, since right after World War II.
So my co-host Kurt Metzger has mentioned this on the show many times, that what you're just talking about, that treaty from the 70s, that they had a treaty saying they wouldn't do weather warfare anymore, which immediately implies that they have the capability of doing it, and that they did do it in Vietnam.
Of course they did. And there's many other precedents as well. As far as hurricane modification, let's go all the way back to 1947, Project Cirrus. U.S. military, with very little intervention, was, based on the initial reports, very successful at modifying the path of a hurricane, did a lot of damage in Georgia. And when the population began to grab their pitchforks and torches, suddenly they began to backtrack and deny it. And there is no indication from all historical data that they ever stopped their experimentation. They only kept ramping them up. We have Project Storm Fury in the late 60s. Again, this is an ongoing operation, and we have U.S. Air Force generals in the dimming admitting to these programs on the record.
And so I'm also aware, not many people are aware of this because I don't think it was really reported in the news. I think I found out about this from you, that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, when he was president of Iran, said that the United States or NATO was doing weather warfare against Iran, and you could do it two way. One of the ways is to create drought, correct? And he claimed on the floor of the United Nations that they had been doing this. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Immediately after 9/11, former NATO Supreme Commander General Wesley Clark was given a list of the Middle Eastern countries to be targeted, a list that clearly existed before 9/11 even happened. Subsequently, every one of those countries, including Iran, underwent a once-in-1,000-year drought. Iran has sophisticated meteorological equipment. They know what's happening upstream from their airspace, and they know their precipitation was being cut off. And for the record, climate intervention operations are far more successful even at cutting off precipitation, stopping it, creating protracted, devastating drought, than they are at creating devastating deluge. So there's no question, when you cut the rain off, you destabilize food supplies, thus you destabilize populations. Yes, on the floor of the UN, on film, on the record, and he's not the only one.
So you have studied that. This isn't you just reading stuff on the internet. You've done your own studies. You've actually sent planes up in the air. You've monitored the air. And so this is based on your actual scientific research. This isn't just based on you doing reading and piecing things together, correct?
Absolutely correct. And we're the only institution that we know of that has done this. We acquired at great effort and expense a NOAA flying lab, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration flying lab, took that to altitude, top scientists in it, sampled what heavy aircraft were emitting, processed those samples at Rensselaer Polytechnic in New York. That's an internationally renowned testing institution, and found exactly what we knew we'd find, Jimmy, starting with aluminum nanoparticles. That's a primary element named in climate engineering patents. And for the record, the world's most recognized climate engineers don't care about the toxicity of what they disperse. And I confronted, it's in the film, The Dimming, also on the record, I confronted the world's most recognized geoengineer at his 3.5-hour symposium at an international climate engineering conference to dump tens of millions of tons of aluminum nanoparticles into the atmosphere. My question to Dr. David Keith, have you done toxicological studies, human and environmental? He first tried to dodge the question, stating, well, there's a lot of particulate matter in the air anyway. A little more won't hurt, paraphrasing. And before they cut me off and banned me from the subsequent conferences, which they did, I cornered him as to that material in the air isn't aluminum nanoparticles. Have you studied that? He said, no. Could terrible things happen tomorrow? We don't know. And for the record, aluminum, bioavailable aluminum, toxic to all life forms, period, no exceptions.
Hey everybody, it's Justin over here at Nexus Auto Transport, and I'm here with a few tips for you to help you prepare your car.
You see, and this is why, when I read this, it says he's whose coming is after the working of Satan, man. And what does Satan mean? An adversary, man. See, this man is the damn devil that the Bible speaks of, and he doesn't care, the negative effects that all this shit is happening upon the people, upon the crops, upon the air, upon the atmosphere, upon the earth, man. You see, but the Bishop Nate to tell you, oh, we don't hate Esau. Hate is such a harsh word. This man deserves to be hated. He needs to be hated, man. And this is why such great judgment is coming to this bastard, man. He's just a diabolical, just a POS, man, a piece of what. You see? And this is why, he's going to be met by the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He's going to be met by the King of Terrors, our Lord and Savior Yahushua, man. And like I just did a video, he's not going to receive any mercy, man. Everything that this man has coming to him, he deserves 1,000,000%. Let's go back here.
Bioavailable aluminum, toxic to all life forms, period, no exceptions.
So this idea that why would the UK announce, in your opinion? So they're using aluminum.
It's because it's all part of the Depop agenda. Remember the Georgia Guidestones that they blew up a couple years ago, man? These devils have an agenda to maintain humanity under 500 million, man. And so when you top what they're doing with the geoengineering, what you top with what they gave the people a couple years ago as an antidote to what they created and what they released on the public, man, it's a they're accelerating the Depop agenda, man. It's just as simple as that. It's not a C theory, it's a C fact, man. And you people need to wake up to the fact that this is what this man is doing, man. All right, it's not a game. It's not for play. It's not science fiction. It's not Just some talking point. It's the truth. This man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Let's go.
Particles to would it be correct to say cloud seed?
This is cloud formation, and there's a very concerted effort right now, even from top levels of the U.S. government, to try to propagate disinformation that this is just jet exhaust. It's the same rehashed official denial.
Yeah.
This is not jet exhaust. It's a sprayed particulate dispersion. We have up-close film footage of these aircraft at altitude, KC-10s, KC-135, C-17 Globemasters, nozzles visible, turning dispersions on and off. These are sprayed payload dispersions, period. So in regard to what the UK is doing right now, again, I would argue it's smoke and mirrors. What did we see only weeks ago, Jimmy? We saw the head of the EPA, Lee Zeldin, saying he was going to fight this issue by focusing on the two clowns from Silicon Valley that launched a few balloons with less than 10 grams of SO2 on each balloon. What's that mean mathematically? It means that if that's Lee Zeldin's idea of fighting climate engineering, we're really in trouble. So that would mean they would need to launch 10 million balloons to equal the payload in one military tanker. This is all smoke and mirrors.
So why do you think? So this isn't not new. So the way when the UK made this announcement, hey, we're going to do this experiment to see if we can dim the sun, that was a lie, because they've been doing that for decades and decades. Correct? In fact, there's over patents going back for weather modification goes back 100 years, right? So why would they? So that's a lie. That was a lie. They've been doing this already. Why do you think that they would now all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to experiment? Why would they? Is that like what they call a limited hangout?
Yes, it confuses and divides the population as to the true state of what's going on in our skies. That's part of their objective. And yes, the patents, we have 200 plus, extensive list of patents at geoengineeringwatch.org. This goes back a very long ways. It's always been a sought out desire of the U.S. military, all militaries, to control the weather. In fact, we have a U.S. military document, Owning the Weather in 2025, that describes this exact objective. Let's go back to 1962. On film, on the record, former U.S. President Lyndon Johnson. This is the start to the first 30 seconds of the geoengineeringwatch.org weekly, commercial-free, the hardest-hitting headlines out there, news broadcast, the first 30 seconds. Lyndon Johnson, if you haven't seen this, Jimmy.
I haven't.
Ranting like a lunatic, stating we had the power to control the world's cloud layer then, and, quote, he who controls the weather controls the world. And that weaves right into the Iran situation you brought up and everything else.
And so let me just show a little bit from your movie, The Dimming. So when we see something like this, now they'll always say that, no, that's just when the jets get at a certain altitude, that's just condensation from the jet fuel, and that's called contrails, which is different than chemtrails. But that you've proven pretty conclusively that that's a lie, that they actually are chemtrails. They're not contrails, correct?
Sprayed particulate dispersion, period.
And so here's some, and by the way, you're not the only one that's saying this. There are many reputable people from presidential administrations. In fact, here I'm going to show you a list of here's some people. Here's a short clip from your movie of people talking about this very thing that we've all seen. And why is it I only see it some days, and then other day? So I live right by the Burbank Airport in the valley. And some days you see this kind of stuff all over the place, like crisscrossing. And then some days you don't see any of it. And I'm like, well, are all the planes flying at a different altitude today than they? So here's a little bit of it, and we'll talk about it. Here's some of the people, credible, credentialed people who agree with you.
Official sources continue to claim that the jet aircraft trails, which linger, spread, and fill our skies with sun-blocking haze, are just condensation. But that narrative is a lie. Atmospheric particulate testing has now conclusively proven that the jet aircraft dispersed trails and haze in our...
I mean, you can see it. All right, so let me just back it up here a little bit, if this will back up for me. Sometimes it won't, sometimes it will. You can see the jet. There wasn't any, and then all of a sudden there was. And you could see it like bursting. You see, right? So now there isn't. Now there is. So let's watch it again.
Atmospheric particulate testing has now conclusively proven that the jet aircraft dispersed trails and haze in our once deep blue skies is not condensation, as we have been told.
Yeah, like I've seen that above the sky in my from my house, and I'm like, well, why would that just happen today? Why wouldn't that happen every day, right? Because there's jets over my house every day, and then only sometimes it looks like a checkerboard like that.
If you were in a recent car accident, you have to check this out right now. Okay, I'm going to show you something.
Right, because there's jets over my house every day, and then only sometimes it looks like a checkerboard like that. So here's the people. So here comes the credentialed, important people who agree with you.
Official sources continue to claim.
Oh, is that it? Is that all? What happened? Here it is.
They are absolutely not contrails. Contrails.
So that's so this is a Brigadier General Charles Jones, U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, former tactical weather reconnaissance pilot.
Contrails do not linger, dissipate, and go into cloud coverage. Period. In the report.
I kept saying to people.
So now this is Catherine Austin Fitts. She was in the George W. Bush administration, and she raised an alarm about this.
I kept saying to people, what is this? Because now the sky is no longer blue; it's starting to turn gray. And what I found was a lot of people were pretending it wasn't happening. It was kind of like it was not socially acceptable to do. We're all going to pretend this is not really happening. And I thought, oh, this is very bad.
It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of COVID when you weren't allowed to speculate that the virus was created in a lab funded by Dr. Fauci, DARPA, and the U.S. military. You weren't allowed to do that. You were called a racist. And here they just call you a conspiracy theorist. And here is someone, a cabinet member of George W. Bush's administration, saying that it wasn't socially acceptable to tell everybody what your own eyes were showing you. Okay, there's more.
Prior history has proven that we have used weather back in the Vietnam conflict. Suddenly, you don't take a weapon off the table that was able to provide good data, provided a good reason for it to be used at that time. Should you expect that it is available on demand to have the ability to modify weather? Absolutely. Within this country and others.
Because we're talking about a very expensive.
Fast forward it a little bit.
Why do you think the corporate media doesn't talk about this?
Because they know how long their leash is. They know what they can and can't talk about, period. We know who owns Matrix Media, and they all conform to the dictates. We know this by the narratives we see them repeating, Jimmy. When you see 20 different stations repeating the exact same mantras for specific stories, they're obviously being given a script. Same is true in the so-called meteorological community. Private defense contractors, Lockheed and Raytheon, do all the weather modeling for the National Weather Service and NOAA. Why would we need private defense contractors that are neck deep in climate engineering everything, doing the weather modeling for the nation's weathermen? By the way, there's an illegal federal gag order. All National Weather Service and all NOAA employees for any agency operations, period. Why would we need to gag the nation's weathermen? And they're all reading scripts down to the local meteorologist level who simply knows how long his leash is. Conformity. That's an unfortunate trait of the human race.
And so basically, they're spraying things that are poison to not only humans, but to all life forms, plants and animals, insects. And can you name some of the, so there's aluminum particulate. Now, aluminum is very toxic. In fact, that's what they use as an adjuvant in often in vaccines to create a allergic reaction that would make the vaccine work, right? So, and there's been lots of speculation and problems about the aluminum causing lots of toxicity in people because of things like that. So, what are some of the other things besides aluminum?
It can't not cause a problem. Let me back into this if I could. First, if we go back to the on-off dispersions, official denial would try to claim that that's a sign of various atmospheric layers. Here's the problem with that narrative. It's completely false. Atmospheric layers horizontally, not vertically. You don't get Morse code looking on and off dispersions. It cannot happen. Atmosphere doesn't layer that way. And again, we have up-close photos of these retrofit nozzles mounted on the wing pylons, aimed in the exhaust jet stream to make this look like, quote, condensation. In regard to, let's take, for example, the safe and effective narrative in regard to that medical treatment, which you just so correctly outlined. We have a whole industry pretending that injecting aluminum and mercury won't cause neurological damage. It can't not cause neurological damage. And here we have synergistic toxicity, and this is important. So again, bioavailable aluminum, which by the way does not exist naturally. It has to be mined, refined, processed, dispersed. Bioavailable aluminum doesn't exist. Freeform aluminum doesn't exist in nature. So when we find freeform aluminum, we know someone put it there. So in the case of the safe and effective treatments, aluminum highly toxic, mercury highly toxic, very, very toxic. When you combine those two metals, Jimmy, you get what's called synergistic toxicity. We have peer-reviewed study to prove that when aluminum and mercury are combined, the overall toxicity can escalate as much as 10,000%. That's 100 times worse. What's that doing in a, quote, safe and effective injection? We now have both in all of us. Every human test subject, hair, blood, urine that we have tested, we are all packed with these metals. It's a wonder we're walking and talking at this point. And regarding the effect on the environment, Jimmy, did you just see the recent report on this?
This is crazy. This money was not in here yesterday. I used this FDIC members loan program.
Talking at this point. And regarding the effect on the environment, Jimmy, did you just see the recent report on this winter, spring season was the biggest bee colony collapse of all? Did you see that?
I did not see that.
So here's what we have. It looks catastrophic. It is catastrophic. So they stated this is the worst collapse yet so far. 65 to 70% collapse of bee colonies this winter. But what's the real story? That's 60 to 70% of the 20% that remained. We've already had an 80% collapse. We're down to single digits percentages of pollinators left. And it's not just the pollinators. It's insects across the board. Climate engineering is the single greatest causal factor. I'm not denying farm chemicals and pollution and all sorts of other human damage to the planet, not denying any of that. But I'm saying when there's a ubiquitous source of contamination, you asked about the elements, aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, polymer fibers, surfactants, graphene, all in our rain, and likely many other constituents, which if we don't know to look for it, it's hard to find that. And this is particularly important. I'll leave it with this. Two of those constituents, aside from all the toxic heavy metals, surfactants, people see foaming rain. That's because there's surfactants in the mix to keep the particles from coagulating.
So I've seen sometimes
I'm gonna close it there, brothers, man. Y'all already know what time it is. This man just needs to fucking be destroyed, man. You know, and it just shows you that this man is being exposed because, hey, we don't have that much longer left, man. The Lord is getting ready to destroy this damn devil, man. This is Revelations 11 and 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, in the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroyeth the earth, man. And this man is fitted, that vessel fitted for destruction, man. He is literally destroying the planet. He's destroying the earth. And like Dan Wigginton said, it's through the mercy of Yahweh Shem Yahushai that we're still able to walk and talk, and we're not literally just dropping dead, because this man is dumping massive amounts of aluminum, barium, all those different harmful chemicals upon each and every last one of us, man. Like he said, it's in all of our hair follicles and our urine samples. We're literally being fucking poisoned, man. Death from the sky. And this is Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened, man. Hey, and this man's time is just about near. You know, like I've been telling you, this man is the fucking devil. Excuse my language, but hey, he's going to be destroyed, man. He's going to pay for all of this shit, and it's not going to go unpunished. So again, Lord willing, this was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And to the next one, Shalom.